what's up, everybody? This is Gary Holt from Exodus and formerly from Slayer, and you're listening to The Razor's Edge.
Andy of Lacuna Coil, welcome to The Razor's Edge. Before we talk about your band's new album, I wanted to jump back in time to before the days of Lacuna Coil. So how did you first get into heavy music?
Well, I started very young, probably when I was around 7, 8 years old, because my older cousin, got me a vinyl of AC/DC, a Leatherby Rock. So that was my first real rock record that I had. But back then it was the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s. Rock music was very alive. It was the time, and all my friends were listening to Iron Maiden or Kiss or AC/DC or all those bands, Scorpions. And so everywhere you go, Europe was popular, like the Final Countdown was big,
Yeah.
Survivor, every movie's at rock music as well. So it was kind of a natural, for a young guy, it was kind of a natural impact to collide with rock music and of some sort, either softer or like Bon Jovi or heavier. I passed from AC/DC, I moved to Slayer very quickly, Slayer, Metallica, when I was a kid in school. And so it was very, very normal. I also had the leather bracelet with spikes and the jeans, the t-shirt. I got my first metal t-shirt. It was an AC/DC with Angus Young doing the lead guitar on the cover, like on the front. So it was very, very. All my friends were listening to rock metal music, so it was kind of a natural step, let's say.
And then going back 26, 27 years ago, how did you first form Lacuna Coil?
Yeah, of course, me and Marco, the bass player, we know each other since we were kids, skateboarding. We grew up skateboarding together. So we were listening to all this music, all the hardcore punk from the skateboard days, but also the thrash metal, the Anthrax, DRI, crossing over to Fate No More, Pantera, all the early groove metal. And so we were listening to that while skateboarding. And when we couldn't skate, we stay home and listen to spinning vinyls and playing over the songs, just very mimicking the music. So the very first bands we had, they were more like a hardcore punkish band, because obviously we were really great musician. And then we moved slowly to more like starting to like death metal and that stuff. And then we start to get passionate about bands like Paradise Lost, Type O Negative, Tiamat, Anathema, all those bands. And so we decided to start playing that slower, darker sound of metal. And then that's where we kind of formed the first embryonic shape of Lacuna Coil called Ethereal. And in '96, we knew Cristina. And we knew she could sing really well because she was landing her voice for some dance records without even putting her name, just as a session musician, And so we asked her to sing some choruses, some background vocals in our demo, and we loved the result immediately. And so we just asked her to join as a permanent member. And we did our demo in '96 called Promo. We call it just Promo '96 with 2 songs. And all the friends, they were really blown away by the results. So they said, you should send it to labels and stuff. We didn't have a lot of expectation because being from Milan, Italy, there wasn't much history about other Italian rock metal bands doing international success or a career in metal music. So it was something not expected, it was more like, okay, let's do it, let's send the tape and see, maybe we'll do a couple of records with the label, maybe we'll do a couple of tours, but it wasn't even an idea to become professional musicians or having a career. And so we sent the demo, we got interest from Century Media, E-Rake, Nuclear Blast, all the way. And so we kind of start talking seriously with Century Media. They asked us to send a couple of more songs. So we recorded very quickly what we had because we didn't have many songs already. And they loved it, and they signed us immediately. But we never play a show before we got signed. We only play shows in school when Cristina was not even in the band. That's it. We never had any experience live. So we got signed because of the demo. And then we had the first show was on tour directly supporting Moonspell in 97, like 1 year before the actual release of our first EP.
Yeah. And could you even imagine back when you were playing like at school where you would be today? It's a massive jump, isn't it?
I think until early 2000, like 2003, 4, when we really started to grow as a band with the Comalize record, I don't think we never thought it was gonna be something like a career, as I say. Even after the first 2 records, we were learning the touring, the financial aspects, the record deal and stuff like that. But was still something cool to do, fun to do, but nothing serious.
Yeah.
And then with Comalize is where it really became something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we are in 2025, and you're about to release your 11th album, Sleepless Empire. I've had it on repeat for a few days, and it is a fantastic Lacuna Coil album. How happy are you with what you've recorded?
We're really happy because it took us a long time to complete this album, because maybe also because of the 2 years of COVID, obviously, that kind of postponed everything, the life of everybody. But after that, it took us a while before we actually go back into have some real motivation, some real inspiration to work on a full new record. That's why we did the Comalize Excess, which was the celebration of the 20 years of Comalize by rearranging the previous record in a sort of a modern key with the current lineup. And that kind of gave us the will to go back to the studio and work again properly and re-put the machine in motion. That and the touring that we did after that kind of brought us back in a mood that was the right mood to start actually thinking a new album. Then it took us a long time to focus the title. We normally start, Marco, especially our bass player, which is the main songwriter, he needs to have a title and to have a vision, like an image that portrays the record. It doesn't necessarily have to be the final cover or artwork. It can be something that we use as a sort of a totem, and then we change it, But it needs that to visualize the record, to sort of give it an organic work at the songwriting. So once we found that, we've really started to flow with the creativity and composition, and then working all the arrangement, and then starting the lyrics process and that stuff, focusing the concept and everything. But it was a very long process, very long, because maybe we had to put the machine back in motion.
Yeah.
And it's also actually, as a new, in terms of completely unreleased album, is number 10, because the 11 it would be with Comalize Excess, which is an album, of course, but it's more of a sort of a special project. And so maybe because we've done already a lot of albums, we really want to do something when we have the motivation, the will to say something new, especially because we are a band that doesn't exactly repeat the same record. Of course, we do have a trademark and everything, but we try to make it a little bit different all the time. And so there needs to be inputs and stimulation and, inspiration in order to progress.
Yeah. And you mentioned the lyrics there and putting the vocals in. Is the lyric writing something that you and Cristina focus on, or is it a whole band that has an input there?
No, the record is essentially made by the three of us. Me, Marco, and Cristina. Marco, 99% of the music. Yeah. Cristina, me, a little bit of the vocal line, and all the lyrics. It's us. So It's a long job because we collect a lot of phrases, a lot of titles, a lot of possible topics. But then when you go and write it, you try to write it in a way that is more open for everybody to kind of feel it in their own personal way and use it in their way. So we start from a real thought, real observation, real something that happened to us, and then bring it more wide, open it to everybody in a more poetic or more not strictly so explicit, and so it's a long job as well, especially because we like to do it very often after we have worked already the vocal line. So we have to kind of, maybe we have a phrase that we really like and we're going to keep, but then change everything else around it. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah. And over the years, how has the dynamic between you and Cristina as dual vocalists grown and changed?
Yeah, I mean, we had to find a way to work together because obviously having two voices is not common for a band. Although nowadays maybe it's a bit more common, but back then especially it wasn't that common. And also we have two different range. So when you write a song, very important that it fits the range of the singer. But sometimes it was fitting very well Cristina, but not me. And so it was sometimes hard to find the right balance, with the direction we have taken since Delirium on. So the last 3-4 records, we've been going a little heavier in the direction of the music. There's a bit more groove, a bit more double bass. So I can use more of the growl vocals or the scream vocals.
Yeah.
And that helps. It's more easy this way for the range of the vocalist. If Cristina has her full range for the chorus or for the melodic part, then I can do more of the growl. This is less tricky to fit the range of the vocals, and it fits better with the new grooves the Marco is driving for the music. So that doesn't mean we're not going to use my clean vocals in the future again, but it's definitely a way to work that works really well for us now because it kind of accentuate the contrast between the two voices. It gives even more open space to Cristina to shine on the chorus, on the melodic part, and it gives me more possibilities to groove on the verse. So it's a way that works for what we write now. In the future, if we're too old for rock and roll and we're gonna go acoustic, then maybe I'll need to bring back the clean vocals.
So we're 2 weeks away from the album being released, and obviously reviews are starting to come out. Do you pay attention to what's written in the press about your album?
A little bit, yes. I mean, if I stumble into a review, I read it, but I know everybody has his own vision, So I learned along the way that there's going to be people that's going to love it and people that's going to hate it. That's for everybody, for every band, for every record, no matter how big or how small it is. There's always going to be love and hate. And some people will like better what you've done 20 years ago, but that's the way it is, because people maybe discover the band with Comalize and they will always prefer Comalize because it's the record that made them familiar to the band, or there was the record when they broke with their girlfriend, or where they met their wives, or they got their kids born. So it's impossible to please everybody. And I think if you're a real fan, you also understand the changes of the band. You still can have your preference over certain sounds, especially on a band like us, because we do change every record a little bit. So it's possible that you like better the style of the beginning of the 2000 compared to what we do now, or the other way around, But I think from noticing from people that's coming to the show or following or streaming the songs, we still have a pretty solid fan base that it's following, Maybe it's also changed along the way a little bit and more younger generations coming on board as well. But it's still very kind of organic, We haven't seen any huge decrease or huge increase. We always have quite a stable career at a certain point.
Yeah, and obviously you're 26 odd years into your career. When you first started, things like social media, the internet weren't really a thing. So how has modern technology changed the way you approach album releases, interact with your fans, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's something that we had to learn as well. You know, it's new world completely for everybody, I guess, and everybody had to deal with the switch from analog life to digital life, and that's also why we had the title Sleepless Empire, because it's a sort of an observation of how the society has changed, how things are different, how much we have of this huge empire with all these possibilities offered by the connectivity, the internet, the availability of 24 hours online, and blah blah blah. And on the other hand, the fact that we're sleepless, that we're always with this screen in our face even at night. But that's not only for the new generation, you know, also for us it's the same. So it's not a critique to the kids, it's just the way it is nowadays. And we all had to deal with this. Maybe we are a little bit more fortunate that we had experienced the life before the internet, and so we know what it is to really live even with more simpler things, you know, and we enjoy even the life without having to be connected all the time. But other than that, that's the main observation and the way that life has changed. But I think we've been pretty good at shifting and following the path of how music has changed, how the music business has changed as well. You know, before, obviously, when you were selling physical records, a lot of physical records, it was way more income from that source, you know. While nowadays, although we do still sell a lot of physical records, because metal is one of the few genre where people still want to have the record, either vinyls, either even cassettes, you know, or special edition CDs. So we're lucky we still sell pretty good numbers of that, but we have found new ways of making income for the band. You know, there's something that before was completely unthinkable, like sponsorship, or somebody wants to put an ad on your Facebook page or Instagram page. Obviously, we try to always do it with brands that we actually belong to us, to our culture, to our background. You know, not something that doesn't not going to put an iron board or something like that. You know, or a soda or something like that. It's going to be something that we use or we belong or we share, we like. You know, and so there's new ways of making the band financially work, you know, and also the touring, the more merchandise, more there's different ways, you know.
Yeah.
And but we go, I think we've done pretty well adapting to the changes, you know.
Absolutely. And so we saw you on the road last year. You came over to the UK. We saw you in Wolverhampton. Great show. How was that UK tour at the end of last year for you?
It was great because we haven't been touring in Europe for a long time, and it was the first time we come back to the UK after, beside Download Festival. But to go properly touring in clubs, we haven't done it in a long time. And actually, we still haven't done it in Europe yet, but we will. We will announce soon a full European tour, and so it was great to just be able to be on a bus again in Europe and touring with the familiar faces we haven't seen in a while. So it was great. It was a great way to come back, to try new things. We also had with us a new guitar player, which we are trying on the live shows now, Daniele. And so it was a good way to restart and kind of see where we are right now, you know, where we're at with everything, with the stat list, technical gear, a lot of new things. We've used the video projection for the first time. So we've done several things we needed to try before we do the big touring for the new record.
Yeah, absolutely. And how does the shows and the crowds in the UK compare to those in mainland Europe?
I don't think there's a massive difference. Maybe obviously Europe, it's quite diverse country to country. You know, obviously Germany, Austria, Switzerland, they tend to be more similar and often more quiet in a way. Like they listen, they appreciate it, buy a lot of merchandise at the end, but maybe they don't go as crazy as some other people. Then obviously Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and even France, maybe they have more of a similar vibe because of the Latin heritage of the countries, or southern, let's say, vibe of the countries. And the UK and Scandinavia, maybe they're more similar in terms of reaction. But UK is also a gateway to America, obviously, and so it's also closer to how Americans react to certain things. But every place is slightly different. We love to play in the UK. It's always one of the best part of the tour, usually.
Yeah. And you'll be back in the UK this summer. You're playing Bloodstock Festival, really high up on the bill. You're on stage just before Emperor. What can we expect from you and your festival show this summer?
Yeah, we to be honest, we haven't think about the set list yet because we have so many shows to do before that part of the, and now we're still closing all the promo for the album, so there's still a lot. Like we just shoot a video 2 days ago that is coming out in a couple of weeks, so we're still in the bubble of pre-touring, adjusting the set list for now. Then obviously the more we're gonna tour, the more we're gonna adjust the set list and make it even better. Normally at festival, we tend to play, if we have a new album out, the new songs and a selection of the classics that works well on a live setting.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be something like that. But we're also thinking about, as you say, we're going to play a very good slot. So we're going to bring something special show-wise as well.
Yeah.
But we're still working on it a little bit because we have so many things at the same time to do right now that during the tour, once we leave for the tour, we can kind of relax and just think about playing and programming the next steps, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're really looking forward to seeing you back here in the summer. So obviously the album comes out in a couple of weeks. You're going to tour, you'll play the festivals. What else have you got planned for 2025?
Yeah, one thing we want to try to do is don't stop the songwriting. We normally, after we finish a record, we kind of close the chapter and just think about the live situation and other stuff. This time we still have a couple of projects, musical projects connected to Lacuna Coil that we haven't got the time to develop because of the record. And so maybe I would say in the summer, after the big chunk of the first part of the tour, we have more time to stay home and just go away for the festivals in the weekend. So that maybe it's a good time to go back and record those ideas, those projects, those collaboration that we have in mind. Plus, we have other collaboration more on a merch side or special item side, you know. So we're working also on some surprises on that, and but it's going to be a full year as well of surprises next year as well. This year, just started.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So, a final question for you. Obviously, your album is one of the big releases of this year, but outside of that, what bands are you listening to at the moment?
I'm doing a lot of, especially in the car, I'm doing a lot of playlists, try to discover new bands. Beside the class, I like to listen to new bands because they kind of have that fresh approach that we can't have, you know, because we are a band on our 10th record. So we try to keep things fresh, obviously, and interesting. But there is that energy of the youth that you can't have, you know, because obviously you're not the first young band anymore. And so we were listening to bands all over the place, so new modern bands like Bad Omens, Spirit Box, Ginger. There's a lot of bands, also more unknown than now. We don't even remember all the names because there's so many new bands every day that I listen to. But I try to stay on a Sleep Theory. I went to see Falling in Reverse. I like to space in everything new, but also classics when I can. I went to see Anthrax with Creator and on the recent tour I went to see Extreme. So I try to space between the stuff that I grew up with and the new wave of bands that can bring something interesting to the table, you know. And a lot of those bands, they also opened for us. Like we had Bad Omens, they opened in 2019 for us, and All That Remains in the States. Nothing More opened for us as well. Bring Me the Horizon was on tour with us in Australia a long time ago with Megadeth and Static X and Devil's Driver. So we're always very curious about new bands and bringing them out. And it's great when they then reach a great status.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Andy, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. I wish you all the best with the release of the album in 2 weeks' time.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you keep up to date with all of our interviews by subscribing to our channel. For all the latest news, reviews, interviews and more, head over to our website www.therazorsedge.rocks.